Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I'm Mike Libbey, CEO of Your Bottom Line, recently Smith Manoeuvre certified. And I figured what better way to kick this off by introducing the man, the myth, the legend himself. So we've got Robinson Smith here today, double major in economics and Chinese studies and an MBA in international business, former investment banker and retail investment advisor, currently the president of the Smith Consulting Group Limited, best-selling author of Master Your Mortgage for Financial Freedom, and the developer of the Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional Program. So take it away, my friend, Robinson Smith. In a nutshell, what is the Smith Manoeuvre? How would you explain that?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Mike. Glad to be here. The Smith Maneuver, in a nutshell, it's a financial strategy that helps homeowners accomplish a number of beneficial things simultaneously. It's not easy these days. Don't know if it ever has been, but the Smith Maneuver allows the homeowner to reduce their tax bill, to speed up the elimination of their expensive mortgage. They're very expensive. And also, they're able to build up an investment portfolio that otherwise wouldn't exist. And the nice thing about this strategy is that, unlike every other financial strategy out there, this does not require any additional cash flow from the homeowner to implement. And these benefits, tax reduction, getting rid of that mortgage, investing for growth, these benefits start now, they increase exponentially over time. Now, basically, the way it works is if we have the appropriate financing, and we've got Smith Manoeuvre certified professional mortgage brokers across the country, which can help make sure you have the right type of mortgage as a homeowner. But with the right type of mortgage, very specific type of mortgage, the homeowner is able to access the equity as fast as they're creating it. And they use this to invest. Now, we're creating equity on a monthly basis whenever we make that mortgage payment. Some goes to interest, quite a bit goes to interest, but some reduces the principal. And with the right type of mortgage, this frees up this equity, and we can pull it out and we can invest. And because we're borrowing to invest with a reasonable expectation of generating income, we're able to deduct the interest on that. So we're converting non-deductible mortgage debt on our principal residence to tax-deductible debt. And this tax relief through these deductions enables us to prepay the mortgage at least once a year. And therefore, we're getting rid of it faster because we've got this tax advantage debt. Every 2 weeks, the government takes their suspected tax off our paycheck. And then at the end of the year, when we send in our return, they find out that they've taken too much from us. So they have to send us money back. And we're able to use this to prepay the mortgage. And any dollar that we can use to prepay that mortgage means it's gone faster. And we're only getting these benefits, the tax reduction, and enabling us to speed up the payment of this mortgage because we're investing. So we're getting invested now, and that means we're taking advantage of compound growth.
And that's fantastic. And I mean, it can be a very simple situation to understand, but there's also a lot of kind of spins on it that can make it slightly more complex. And obviously, you want to work with somebody who understands this stuff deeply and what kind of investments qualify and how does it work and how does it impact my taxes. I know when I read the book, it was a couple of years ago, super eye-opening to understand just the nuances of it, as well as how did I not know this before? I mean, I know everybody I've spoken to is like, it's just at its core, it's so simple. How could I not have known this? And so,
Yeah.
what is the origin of the Smith Maneuver? How did it kind of come to be?
Yeah, it was developed a long time ago, back in the mid 80s by my father, Fraser. He was a financial planner out in Vancouver here. And he was interested in the fact that the Americans could deduct a portion of their mortgage interest and we Canadians could not. And of course, he didn't think that was very fair.
Yeah.
So he read the Tax Act, which I'm sure you know, Mike, is a very interesting and he put the pieces of the puzzle together and came up with the strategy. And he put his private clients into it for about 15 years before he retired to write his book on the strategy. His book is this guy here, and that came out in 2002. Now, he came back into advising in 05 in Victoria, and I joined him in 06. So we each had our own separate practices here in Victoria. We shared office space and worked with a number of professionals of various sectors to help our clients implement the strategy. Now, Dad passed away in 2011, but I kept advising until I sold my business in 2018 to focus on getting word out to Canadian homeowners and training financial professionals. The environment was such that as an advisor, I wasn't able to stand up on my soapbox and tell Canadians coast to coast about this strategy, which is really what I wanted to do because, it's tough out there. And so that's what I did. And I came out with my book, Never Miss an Opportunity. And
Yeah.
came out with this in 2019. So that's the origin, that's the genesis of the Smith Maneuver. And now we've got a number of professionals, including yourself, Mike, across the country who can help Canadians locally.
Awesome, awesome. And so, what about Canadians specifically? I know you kind of touched on it there, but what about why do Canadians need the Smith Maneuver?
Yeah. I think as taxpayers, we are regularly seeing our taxes go up, not down.
Yep.
We are consistently within the top 5 highest tax-paying citizenry on the planet. We pay more in tax than we do on food, clothing, and shelter combined, the simple necessities for survival, right? And now we've got inflation, 6-7%, coming down a little bit, but inflation, that eats away at the equity we have in our home. We have to put it to work to combat that. And Canadians, not only are our expenses getting higher, but we're also incurring an increasing number of expenses. We get old, we get married, we raise a family, and so life just keeps on getting more and more expensive. And you throw in the cost of housing, it's terribly expensive. This all leads to an inability to save for our family's future. We've got this sequential approach to personal finances in Canada that we take. We've got these 2 major goals of ours. One is to get rid of this mortgage, it's so bloody expensive, and the other is to start saving for our retirement. We don't want to have to work until the day we die, right? But conventionally what happens is if we don't save for our retirement now, nobody cares. But if we don't make our mortgage payment, then somebody does care.
Oh yeah.
And so that's what we do as Canadians. We focus our dollars on paying out this mortgage at the expense of not getting invested. And so we're increasing the equity in our home, getting into a better and better position for a reverse mortgage, which after working for the bank for 25, 30, 40 years in order to make that mortgage payment, now we hit retirement. We don't have retirement income because we haven't been able to save. So now we have to start selling the house back to the bank. We want to avoid that, right? We don't want to have to work in retirement. We don't want to be financially reliant on our children. And the Smith Maneuver solves this because we're able to do both things at once. We're able to get rid of that mortgage faster, and we're able to put money aside for our future.
Win-win. Absolutely. And as you know, I mean, we do taxes, accounting, etc. So we see different people in varying walks of life. Obviously, the market and the nature of everything kind of today is a little bit trickier than usual. How have you found, would you say, that the interest rates and things are generally impacting people who are looking to kind of jump into the Smith Maneuver right now?
Yeah, well, some people say, well, the Smith Maneuver doesn't work right now because rates are going up. Well, we have to remember that this strategy was developed in the mid-'80s. Rates were double digits.
Yeah.
And if the strategy didn't work then, we wouldn't be talking now, right? The nice thing about the Smith Maneuver is whether rates are high or low, it functions beautifully. Why? Because when rates are low, we have more to invest each month, growing that portfolio. When rates are high, we have larger deductions, right? We have larger tax relief, which enables us to prepay our mortgage by more. That's getting rid of it faster than when rates are low. And again, inflation, if I got $100,000, $300,000, $600,000 worth of equity in my home and I'm losing 6% of the value of that every year, that's hugely expensive. So with today's current environment, it's more important than ever to actually select a financial strategy that's gonna offset these factors, and that's what the Smith Maneuver does.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I mean, people will every once in a while ask, "Hey, what's this going to do for me? How's this going to impact me? Why should I do it? Why should I care, etc." How much would you say, and this is potentially a tough question, but how much would you say the strategy is worth to the average Canadian homeowner?
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on what's your current mortgage balance, how much time do you have left on your amortization. So there's a number of different factors. What's your marginal tax rate, etc. But generally, we're seeing $300,000 to $400,000 worth of net worth improvement over the course of a typical 25-year AM mortgage, and we're taking several years off of having that non-deductible mortgage debt, and that's that's a benefit, you know, in the net worth improvement, getting rid of that mortgage faster. That's a benefit that we're getting simply by restructuring our personal finances, not having to come up with any additional cash flow each month. So we don't have to go out and earn more to improve our situation. We don't have to reduce our lifestyle to improve our situation. We just have to restructure. So $300,000 to $400,000, 2 to 3 years off the mortgage. But you know, we've got a number of accelerators that can be implemented, at least one by most Canadians, sometimes two, sometimes all of them. And we're regularly seeing net worth improvements of up to or over $1 million, and the amortization go from 25 years down to under 10 years, well under 10 years, depending on the use of accelerators.
And that's fantastic. I mean, that's a good number. That's a good chunk of change for most Canadians. And I mean, you spoke briefly about accelerators there. Can you kind of touch on accelerators a little bit?
Yeah. So the very basic Smith maneuver is whenever you make a mortgage payment, whatever is reduced on that principal, you can get back with a specific type of mortgage. And you pull that out to invest. And annually, you take your refund amount and pay it down, and then pull that out to invest as well. But there are a number of accelerators. There's debt swap, cash flow diversion, cash flow down, the drip accelerator, prime the pump. And I won't go through all of them. Just one as an example, debt swap. And I can do this with existing paid up financial assets like mutual funds or stocks, or I can do this with cash. But let's say I done a great job all year at work, and my boss says, you know what, here's a $10,000 bonus. Then what goes through my head is, well, you know, the age-old conversation with yourself. What do I do with this windfall? Do I pay my mortgage down, or do I get it invested for my future? And the answer is you do both. You take that $10,000 in cash, you pay down your mortgage prepayment. That 10,000 becomes available again, you pull that out and you get it invested. And that does wonderful things for your tax bill, because you've just eliminated a bunch of non-deductible debt and you just created a bunch of tax deductible debt. Plus you're getting invested for compound growth, and your total debt hasn't changed. Pay it down over here, pull it back over here. So that's the debt swap. And again, if you've got there's a number of other accelerators. Cash flow down is a very powerful one. If you own a rental property or you own a proprietorship of your business, you can implement cash flow down. I won't go through it, but it's really powerful stuff. Well, all of these accelerators.
Extremely. And I've been speaking with a few mortgage brokers that are also Smith Manoeuvre certified. We've been going through kind of pros and cons and understanding how it all kind of works together, and who's the appropriate person for it to work with. And I mean, one of the most attractive things that really appealed to me as I was going through and reading the book was that you're just, like you said, doing debt swap, right? It's not necessarily, I'm not just leveraging money. I mean, you can leverage money, but I'm just converting debt, right? I'm at the same spot I was before, but I can write off this interest. It's fantastic.
Well, exactly. You know, this debt swap, if I've got $10,000 worth of mutual funds that I've acquired over the years, you know, we already talked about what do you do if you have cash. But if I've got investments at $10,000, I can sell those investments for cash. Obviously, I'll look at taxation as a capital gains or whatever the case may be. But if it makes sense, I can liquidate those mutual funds for cash, prepay my mortgage, pull it back out, and I can buy the exact same asset that I just sold 4 days earlier to do this debt swap. So the investment, you know, I want to watch out for superficial loss rules. That's why people like yourself are important. But that's why it's so powerful, is because I'm invested by 10 grand, and then I cash out, run it through my mortgage, and I buy the investment again. Same one or a different one. But I have the same amount of investments. I have the same amount of debt, but I've just really improved my tax bill.
You got it. Absolutely. And I'm all for improving your tax bill. That's for sure. So what keeps you busy these days? What are you up to?
Well, you know, after selling my practice and coming out with my book, one of the important things for me was we'd heard many times over the years of Canadians telling us, well, my investment advisor, my accountant, my mortgage broker, whoever it was, said they were going to put me into the Smith Maneuver. But after seeing you on YouTube or reading your book or whatever, I realized that it's not the Smith Maneuver. I don't know what they did for me. So there's a lot of misunderstanding out there amongst financial professionals, financial journalists. The internet is a complete rat's nest of misinformation. So it was important for me that if I was going to generate awareness in the strategy in Canada, coast to coast, it was important that these Canadians who wanted to implement it had people they could go to, professionals who knew what they were doing. These Canadians could be confident that they knew what they were doing. So I developed the Smith Manoeuvre Certified Professional Network, of which you are a member, Mike, so that these Canadians can get help more or less locally. So I'm doing a lot of speaking engagements for general public, generating awareness, and I'm also doing a lot of support work for the Smith Manoeuvre certified professionals.
Awesome. And we often say in our industry, a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing. So I imagine it's kind of the same to you as well. I heard from a friend of a sister of a brother of mine that this is going on. So you're right. You
Well,
absolutely have to talk to somebody.
It's dangerous for the tax preparers. It's dangerous for the mortgage brokers, the investment advisors, all these different professionals who are required to assist Canadians in the strategy. If they know a little bit, they don't know it all. And that's where a homeowner, they're not going to know whether the professional fully understands the strategy or not, unless they go to a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional.
You got it. Absolutely. So as a kind of final takeaway, what should Canadians who are interested in the strategy do? What's the starting kickoff point?
Really, it's education. I mean, there's a lot more to the strategy. You said earlier it's pretty simple concept, and it is. But in the implementation of it, there are a lot of things to know about. So you're first going to, as a Canadian homeowner, you're going to first want to educate yourself. And Mike, I think what they should do is they should contact you and make sure everyone who's watching this knows how to get in touch with you. I mean, you can direct them to the book or to the website, and really do your homework, figure out if it's for you or not before you look to connect for implementation with Smith Manoeuvre certified professionals. Nobody wants to waste anybody's time, but learn about the strategy. Ideally, read the book. You've got access to material, Mike, that you can help educate people. So their next step is you, Mike. You're a Smith Manoeuvre certified professional, and they should contact you, and you can direct them to more information.
Awesome. And I appreciate that. And one of my favorite things that happen whenever somebody kind of comes through the funnel is that they usually reach out and say, hey, I need an accountant or a financial advisor or a mortgage broker, and having that kind of power team of people who are all Smith Manoeuvre certified can certainly go a long way and reap dividends for the client, having the whole scope there, right? So,
well, it's nice because now the homeowner who's looking to implement the strategy, they know that their accountant, who's an SMCP, knows their mortgage broker, who's an SMCP, an investment advisor, and realtor, and all these different professionals. And it's nice not to have to go out and try to educate your accountant, try to educate your mortgage broker, your investment advisor, what it is you want to do. We've got people who already know what you're looking to accomplish.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time, good sir. I won't take too much more of it. So thank you, Rob, for coming on today and answering my questions. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Very welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Rob.